Hello everybody, and welcome to another in my video series from IELTS Learning Tips. And today I want to look at how you can keep motivated in your practice. This is something that students often ask about because it's when you first start doing your IELTS practice. I know there's a kind of excitement, there's an expectation, but I think for a lot of students, after a while, that starts to wane and they start to become a little worried about their IELTS, and perhaps especially if the scores aren't improving, they begin to think this isn't working, why am I wasting my time? All these kinds of things. And so you start perhaps not to practice quite so much, or not to put quite so much effort into your study. And this has been the case quite a lot recently with all of the problems with the COVID pandemic, the fact that classes were closed, the fact that the exams weren't always happening, the fact that maybe, you were off work or for whatever reason. I think the last 2 years, it's been a lot more difficult for people to keep motivated in every aspect of life, not just in IELTS, but particularly in IELTS, if there was no prospect of either taking the exam or even moving to do your course or to start your new life. So that is quite demotivating, I agree. And then finally, if your scores don't seem to be improving, as I mentioned before, I think that can be also quite demotivating, and people often do less or give up. Some give up forever and some give up for a long while. And of course, with language, if you stop for a while, once you get back, you've gone backwards a little bit. So it's like starting to study from the beginning again, which in itself is demotivating. So I want to give you 3 things that I feel you should be doing, which will help you keep motivated in your study. And the first one is to have a learning log, a study log or a study diary. And in that study log, you should write down every time you practice, which should really be every day if you're looking for a high band. But every time you practice, write down what was good, what you achieved, and then areas that you need to spend more time or do more practice with. Now, it's amazing because a lot of students say to me they're not making any progress. And yet, if we look back to 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you'll see that there has been a difference in the work that they're doing. Some of their scores will have improved. Even this morning, I was working with a student on IELTS listening, and he got about 5 questions wrong in one section, and he was feeling very despondent. But when we looked at the score overall, it still hit 7. It was still 31 out of 40, which would probably have given him a 7. And so the scores were still quite high, yet because he missed these few questions, he was feeling very demotivated and he thought he hadn't done very well. So it's quite easy to lose sight of your progress, but if you keep a daily record, then if you have a bad day, look back a couple of weeks and you'll see that actually, even on a bad day, you've probably come quite a way forward from 2 weeks ago. So that's number 1. Number 2 is focus on what's stopping you get your score. So if you do, say, a listening practice or a reading practice, don't just look at the scores and then put the books away. Go through your scores and see if there are any patterns. Is it that when you have headings, you always get a lower score in reading? Or yes, no, not given, if you have lots of those, do you get a lower score? In the listening, if you have a map, does that make your score go down? Or if you have lots of multiple choice, does that make your score go down? Try be a bit forensic about this, work out what it is that's stopping you, and then spend a little bit more time focusing on those particular question types. Now, this helps in 2 ways. First of all, it will help you improve them, because if you focus on those and look at why you're getting them wrong and try to rectify that, then you're going to get higher scores and that's going to improve overall. And the second thing is that by working on those small areas, you're going to feel more motivated because you're not just doing a whole hour of reading and getting a bad score. You're really doing something more productive. So that works also with your motivation. And then the third thing that I think is really important is do not go it alone. If you're studying by yourself completely and you get demotivated, there's nobody there to boost you up. So make sure that you have some sort of support. So that could be a teacher. Ideally, it would be a teacher who can motivate you, who can help you, who can show you how to boost your scores. But if you're not working with a teacher and not in a class, then find some other people to study with, because there's no better way of boosting your confidence and motivating yourself than when you're in a group. If you're working in a group, that group is relying on you to be there, and you're relying on them to be there. And that whole social aspect to your study means that you will have better motivation and your chances of getting a high score are immediately improved. So remember the three things: keep a study log, practice the specific areas that are holding you back, and make sure you're not alone and you have other people around you who are studying with you to support you. And if you do this, I don't think you'll lose motivation at all. So I hope that was useful. I suggest if you're feeling demotivated, go out and do these three things, and I'm pretty sure that you will turn it around very quickly. If you want my help, send me a message either on Messenger or here in the YouTube comments, and I will reach out to you and try and put you on track. Okay, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye, everybody.